Ladies and gentlemen, in a world that shouts, scrolls, and competes for your attention every second, there is a quiet, sacred power in choosing to become rare. To be rare in a noisy world is not about being distant or aloof. It is about being deeply rooted in purpose, untangled from the chaos, and fully aligned with your divine calling. While the masses chase validation, fame, and quick rewards, the rare walk a slower, deeper path, a path carved by faith, healed by silence, and lit by truth. Everywhere you look, someone is telling you who to be, what to wear, how to talk, how to succeed. The noise is deafening. It promises everything but delivers nothing lasting. And if you're not careful, you will wake up one day with a full schedule and an empty soul. This is why becoming rare is urgent. Rare doesn't mean being better than others. It means being true to the voice of God within you when the voices around you are screaming for conformity. To become rare, you must be willing to walk away from the crowd. You must learn to be okay with not being understood. Rare people are often overlooked at first because their value isn't loud, it's lasting. They are not chasing trends. They are rooted in timeless truth. They don't need everyone to agree with them because they are anchored in something unshakable. Their peace doesn't come from popularity, it comes from presence, the presence of God in their daily life. Think about the greatest figures in history, the ones who changed lives, shook systems, and awakened generations. They were not common, they were rare, and they often paid the price of isolation, misunderstanding, and sacrifice. But they were willing, because they knew what most people forget. God does His greatest work in those who are set apart, not blended in. Becoming rare begins when you stop running from your quiet seasons. It's in the silence that you grow. It's when no one's watching that your character is built. While others are obsessed with being seen, you choose to be still. You study, you pray, you heal, you rise, not with noise, but with intention. You stop performing, you start transforming, and soon, what once felt like loneliness becomes your greatest strength. Because it's where you found God. Rare people speak less, but their words carry weight. They don't need to be in every room because they're building rooms that matter. They don't need to mimic anyone because they've found their voice. They are the ones you can't ignore, not because they scream, but because they shine. Their presence brings peace. Their actions carry integrity. They are not reactive. They are reflective. They are not desperate. They are disciplined, and here's the truth. Being rare will cost you. You'll lose some friends. You'll miss some invitations. You'll walk through seasons where it feels like no one gets you. But don't run from that. That's the refining. That's where your roots go deep and your spirit grows strong. That's where you learn to depend on God, not on applause, not on algorithms, not on image. And when you emerge, you won't just be another voice in the crowd. You'll be a light in the dark. So choose it. Choose to become rare in this noisy world. Choose stillness over striving, depth over display, purpose over popularity. And know this, when you choose to be rare, heaven notices. God doesn't call the loudest. He calls the willing, the obedient, the ones who are set apart. You don't need to be famous to be favored. You just need to be faithful. And when you walk in that kind of identity, you become unforgettable, not because of how many see you, but because of how deeply you've been seen by the one who matters most. That is rare, and that is powerful. In a world driven by filters, trends, and endless comparison, standing out with authenticity is the most radical thing you can do. Authenticity is not about perfection or having it all figured out. It's about being deeply and unapologetically yourself, anchored in truth, led by faith, and unwilling to compromise your soul just to fit in. When everyone is trying to be liked, the one who dares to be real becomes unforgettable. To stand out with authenticity, you must begin with honesty. That means confronting the masks you've worn to survive, the roles you've played to feel accepted, and the versions of yourself you've created to avoid judgment. The world doesn't need another imitation. It needs someone who is willing to live from the inside out, someone who says, "This is who I am, this is what I believe, and I will not shrink to make others comfortable." That kind of truth is magnetic. It draws respect, not always instantly, but always deeply. Authenticity is rare because it requires courage. It takes bravery to walk in a room and not perform, to speak from the heart even when your voice shakes, to share your story, not the highlight reel, but the real, raw, redeemed parts that shaped you. When you are authentic, you give others permission to breathe. You become a light in a culture obsessed with image. And that light is born not from image, but from identity. Your identity in God. You don't need to be loud to stand out. You just need to be grounded. Authentic people carry a quiet strength. They walk in peace. They're not rattled by trends or the need for validation because they've already been affirmed by something higher. When your worth is rooted in the truth of who God says you are, you stop chasing relevance and start living with reverence. Your life begins to reflect grace, depth, and power that can't be manufactured. Real life authenticity shows up in small moments. It's the way you treat people when no one is watching. It's choosing kindness when sarcasm is easier. It's setting boundaries when people expect people pleasing. It's saying no without guilt and yes without fear. It's showing up to your purpose even when it's inconvenient, and it's not always easy. Sometimes you'll lose people when you stop pretending. But those who remain will be the ones who truly see you. Standing out with authenticity also means embracing your imperfections. You are not called to be flawless. You are called to be faithful. Your vulnerability can be someone else's breakthrough. When you stop hiding, others feel safe to do the same. Your wounds, once healed, become windows for others to see that healing is possible. And that is rare. That is holy. God didn't create you to blend in. He handcrafted your soul with intention, your voice, your story, your perspective. None of it is accidental. There is power in your presence when you stop trying to be someone else. The more you embrace your God-given identity, the more you radiate the kind of confidence that doesn't boast, but blesses. It's not about drawing attention to yourself. It's about reflecting something greater. So if you want to become rare, start here. Be real, be rooted, be honest. Let your light come not from what you do, but from who you are. And trust that the right people, the right doors, the right purpose will recognize you, not because you shouted the loudest, but because your spirit spoke the truth. This world has enough noise. What it needs, what God is calling for, is a generation of people unafraid to be real, unafraid to heal, unafraid to live authentically, no matter the cost. Be that, stand out, and become rare. In a world that values sameness, spiritual uniqueness is your greatest gift. You were never meant to be a duplicate of anyone else. Your soul carries a signature that only heaven can decode, a spiritual identity uniquely yours, written by the hand of God before you took your first breath. The journey to become rare begins with reclaiming that identity and embracing the divine blueprint that sets you apart. From the moment we are born, the world begins to shape us. Family expectations, cultural norms, social media, peer pressure. They all whisper who we should be, but the soul doesn't lie. It remembers. It longs for the original purpose God placed within it. And until you return to that spiritual identity, you will feel restless, out of place, and unseen, even when you're surrounded by people. Spiritual uniqueness is not just about being different. It's about being divinely designed. God did not create you for mass production. He created you for mission, and the truth is, your calling will not always be popular. Your purpose will often require solitude, but that solitude is sacred. It's where the rare are made. It's where the noise quiets and the voice of God becomes clear. In that stillness, you begin to remember who you are, not the person the world shaped, but the soul God formed. To walk in your spiritual identity is to stop apologizing for your depth. It's to no longer hide your sensitivity, your convictions, your fire, or your faith. It's allowing the spirit to lead even when logic resists. The rare don't follow trends, they follow truth. They live from within. They've been through too much, healed through too much, trusted through too much to waste time on superficiality. They've been burned and broken, yet they still choose light. That's what makes them different. God gives each person a unique spiritual fingerprint. Yours may be compassion, intercession, discernment, boldness, wisdom, or creative fire. Whatever it is needed. Don't bury it because it doesn't look like someone else's. What the world calls weird, God often calls chosen. Don't trade your rare spirit for acceptance. Don't dull your light to make others feel comfortable in their darkness. Rare souls awaken others, and sometimes that makes people uncomfortable. Let them be. When you embrace your spiritual uniqueness, you walk in power. You stop striving and start flowing. You realize that success is not how much you achieve, but how aligned you are with your divine purpose. You begin to see setbacks as sacred detours. You stop rushing, you start listening, you forgive, you bless, you break cycles. You heal not just for yourself but for generations after you, and here's the truth, the rare are often misunderstood. But they are also unforgettable. They leave legacy, not just impressions. They speak life into broken places. They carry God's presence into dry rooms. They don't need platforms because their life is the platform. They love deeply, they give freely, they stay rooted when others drift, and they do it all because they know who they are and whose they are. So if you feel different, you are not broken, you are rare. If your journey feels lonely, you are not lost, you are being set apart. If the world doesn't recognize your worth, that's okay. Heaven does, and that's enough. You don't need the world to approve your identity. You need only to align with the one who created it. Return to your source. Let God remind you who you are. Let Him strip away every false identity you've picked up. Let Him breathe life into your spirit again. And then walk boldly, speak truth, shine light, be rare, because when you embrace your spiritual uniqueness, you don't just live, you awaken, and that, more than anything, is what this world needs. Faith-driven personal growth is not just about improving yourself, it's about becoming the person God always intended you to be. In a world that rewards shortcuts, popularity, and performance, choosing a path of growth rooted in faith is the road less traveled. But that road is where the rare are made. It's not about chasing success. It's about cultivating depth. It's about letting God refine you in private before revealing you in public. When you commit to personal growth through faith, you no longer rely on your own strength. You learn to surrender. You understand that real transformation doesn't come from motivational quotes or surface-level habits. It comes from the Spirit of God doing a deep work inside of you. You begin to shed the old versions of yourself, the fear, driven you, the approval, seeking you, the broken and bitter you, and step into the identity God placed in your soul before the world told you who to be. There's nothing more powerful than a person who's grown through faith. Why? Because that kind of growth can't be faked. It can't be bought. It comes through fire. It comes through tears, through silence, through prayers that felt unanswered, but were preparing something greater. Faith-driven growth is sacred because it takes place in hidden places. While the world praises speed, you are being taught patience. While others seek platforms, you're being taught purpose. While they rush to be seen, you're learning to be still. This growth journey often starts in pain. Maybe you were rejected, overlooked, abandoned, or betrayed. Maybe you felt lost or forgotten, but faith says none of it is wasted. Every wound is a doorway. Every delay is divine. Every valley teaches you how to rise with grace and humility, and every lesson becomes part of your armor, not to harden you, but to prepare you. Faith-driven growth also means choosing character over comfort. You don't just want to make it, you want to carry the weight of your calling with integrity. You choose truth even when it costs you. You show up with love even when it's not returned. You keep going, not because it's easy, but because you know God is not done with you yet. You've seen too much, overcome too much, healed too much to turn back now. People who grow through faith don't walk the same. They don't need attention. They carry authority. They speak less, but their words carry weight. They don't flaunt their growth, they live it. And it shows in how they love, in how they lead, in how they forgive, in how they serve. Their confidence is quiet, but it's undeniable. Because it's rooted in the unshakable truth that God is with them, molding them, maturing them, moving them forward. And here's the beauty of it. When you grow through faith, you become rare. Not because you're better, but because you're different. You've chosen a path that few are willing to take. You've built endurance when others quit. You've held on to hope when others gave in to doubt. You've become someone who doesn't just survive the storm, but walks out of it stronger, wiser, and more compassionate than ever before. So if you want to become rare, start here. Grow in faith. Let God work in the deep places. Trust the process, even when it feels slow. Be obedient when no one's watching. Keep your heart soft. Let the trials shape you, not define you. And never forget, God doesn't rush masterpieces. He refines them, and you, through your faith, are becoming one. To be uncommon and powerful in today's world means refusing to live on autopilot. It means choosing depth over distraction, conviction over convenience, and faith over fear. Most people follow the path of least resistance. They conform, they copy, they coast. But those who become rare choose something higher. They live with intentionality, guided not by the noise of the culture, but by the still, powerful voice of purpose inside them. Being uncommon starts when you realize you were never meant to blend in. God didn't create you to be ordinary. He created you to be extraordinary in spirit, not flashy, not arrogant, but deeply grounded, spiritually awake, and fierce in your devotion to truth. To become powerful, you first have to become whole. And that wholeness doesn't come from achievements or validation, it comes from alignment. Alignment with God's voice, with your soul's true identity, with the mission you were born to fulfill. Uncommon people don't wait to be chosen. They know they've already been called. They don't ask for permission to be great. They take responsibility for becoming who they're meant to be. They invest in their spirit when others invest only in image. They sacrifice short-term pleasure for long-term legacy. They are consistent in private long before they're recognized in public. That's what makes them powerful. Their strength is forged in secret places where no one sees except God. To be uncommon, you have to silence the voice that says, "Play it safe." The world is filled with people who have settled for less love, less purpose, less joy. But deep inside, something in you knows you're not meant for smallness. You were born with fire in your bones, and that fire must be protected. Don't let culture water it down. Don't let rejection snuff it out. Don't let distractions bury it. Fan it, feed it. Let it burn brighter with every obstacle you overcome. Powerful people understand this truth. Their value is not based on who approves of them, but on who created them. That's why their confidence isn't loud, it's rooted. They walk with quiet authority because they know what they've been through. They know what they've conquered. They've faced inner demons, fought through fear, and stood alone and still didn't quit. That's not ego, that's endurance, and endurance is the birthplace of power. Being uncommon also means having vision. You don't just see what is, you see what can be. You live from faith, not just facts. You pray bold prayers. You speak life where others speak doubt. You walk into rooms not asking for something, but bringing something. Clarity, peace, presence, power. You know who you are, and you know what you carry. You don't shrink to make others feel comfortable. You don't compromise to be liked. You lead with love, but you don't bend truth. That balance, that spiritual maturity is rare. But make no mistake, the path to being uncommon and powerful is not easy. It's marked by isolation, trials, and refinement. There will be seasons where you're misunderstood. There will be moments you want to give up, but keep going. God uses the hidden seasons to shape rare vessels. He breaks you, not to destroy you, but to rebuild you stronger, wiser, and more capable of carrying the weight of your calling. So choose to be uncommon. Choose discipline when others choose distraction. Choose healing when bitterness feels easier. Choose faith when logic says give up. Choose truth when it costs you, because on the other side of those choices is a version of you the world desperately needs. A version who doesn't just follow the light but becomes it. You don't need to be perfect to be powerful. You need to be aligned, surrendered, consistent, and full of faith. That's what makes you rare. That's what makes you unstoppable. A rare mindset transformation begins the moment you realize that your thoughts are not just reactions to the world, but the architects of your destiny. Most people live with borrowed beliefs shaped by their environment, fears, and failures. But the rare, they rise, they question everything they've been told. They don't just react, they recreate starting with the inner world, knowing that lasting change begins in the mind before it manifests in reality. To become rare, you must first confront the mindset that keeps you ordinary, the mindset that says I'm not enough, I'll always be this way, or people like me don't succeed. That voice must be silenced not with noise but with truth. And truth doesn't whisper comfort, it demands courage. A rare mindset transformation means being willing to unlearn what limited you and relearn what God says about you. You are not your past. You are not your mistakes. You are not the lies someone else projected onto you. You are a masterpiece in progress, not by human standards, but by divine design. Rare transformation happens when you stop believing in the version of yourself that's easy and start becoming the version of yourself that's true. That version may be buried under trauma, shame, doubt, and fear, but it's not gone. It's waiting for you to reclaim it. Rare people renew their minds daily. They understand that the battle is spiritual. That depression isn't always emotional, it's a signal. That anxiety isn't weakness, it's misdirected energy, calling for alignment. A transformed mindset sees pain as preparation, not punishment. It interprets rejection as redirection. It doesn't just look at the obstacle, it looks beyond it, because the rare mind is not stuck in what's visible. It is trained to see the invisible, the promise, the possibility, the presence of God even in darkness. This transformation doesn't happen in a single moment. It happens in the daily decision to think differently. It happens when you stop scrolling and start seeking, when you fast from distractions and feast on wisdom, when you replace negative self-talk with the Word of God, when you refuse to speak failure over your life, even when everything feels like it's falling apart. Rare people discipline their thoughts because they understand the cost of mental chaos. And here's the secret, your mindset will either magnify your calling or muffle it. The rare don't wait to feel ready, they act in faith. They trust the process even when they're still bleeding. They speak vision when others speak defeat. They protect their peace like their life depends on it because it does. And they refuse to entertain anything that contradicts the person they are becoming. True mindset transformation also means letting go of the victim identity. Life may have been unfair, you may have been broken, but being rare means choosing healing over bitterness, choosing growth over blame, choosing to be the author of your next chapter, not just the reader of the last one. It means taking ownership not because everything is your fault, but because everything is your responsibility. You weren't born to blend in. You were born to be rare, and it begins in your mind, so take authority. Tear down every thought that says you're not enough. Replace it with truth. Train your focus, guard your inner world, speak life. Walk in faith and never forget. When your mind transforms, your whole world follows. The uncommon life you dream of doesn't start out there. It starts right here in the rare, renewed mind of a person who finally decided to believe. Walking in divine purpose is not about being popular, accepted, or applauded by the world. It's about being obedient to a call that only you can hear, a voice deep within your spirit that says, you were created for more. You don't become rare by doing what everyone else does. You become rare by surrendering to the sacred path, designed uniquely for you, a path that requires faith, courage, and alignment with something far greater than your own desires. When you walk in divine purpose, you stop asking, what do I want from life? And start asking, what does life, what does God want from me? That shift in perspective changes everything. You begin to realize that your struggles were never random, your pain was never meaningless. Every setback, every heartbreak, every unanswered prayer was part of the molding process, shaping you for a purpose that transcends success, status, or applause. Divine purpose rarely makes sense to the world. It may call you to walk away from comfort, to stand alone, to speak truth when others stay silent, to love when it hurts. It's not always glamorous, but it's always sacred. And the more you walk in it, the more you realize you were never created to blend in. You were created to become rare, someone who lives with such depth, faith, and conviction that your presence shifts atmospheres and your words heal hearts. This walk is not always easy. You'll face seasons of silence where it feels like God is far. You'll walk through valleys that test your endurance. You'll be misunderstood by those who haven't heard the same call. But remember this, divine purpose doesn't need validation. It needs obedience. It needs trust. It needs the kind of rare soul who will keep moving forward even when the road is lonely, because they know who sent them. Walking in divine purpose also means walking in identity, not the identity shaped by trauma, culture, or comparison, but the one authored by heaven. The enemy will always try to distort your view of yourself, because he knows if you ever walk in who you truly are, you become unstoppable. You become a light in dark places, a voice for the voiceless, a vessel of healing and power. You become rare not because you try to be, but because you are. To walk in divine purpose, you must protect your heart from distractions. Not every opportunity is aligned with your destiny. Not every person is assigned to your journey. It takes discernment to know when to let go, when to step out, and when to wait. But trust this, when your life is surrendered to divine will, nothing can derail what has been written for you. Doors will open that no man can shut. Strength will rise when you feel empty. Miracles will unfold when logic says they shouldn't. And in the process, you will change not into someone new, but into who you were always meant to be. Stronger, wiser, softer yet bolder, radiant not from ego but from purpose. And you'll stop chasing things that don't fulfill because you've tapped into something eternal. So walk boldly, walk humbly, walk faithfully. Don't measure your steps by the standards of this world. Let your steps be ordered. Let your spirit be led. Let your life become the message, because when you walk in divine purpose, you don't just impact others, you inspire heaven to move on your behalf. You become rare, you become light, you become everything the world didn't see coming, but everything God always knew you were. God's calling to be different is not a punishment, it's a promotion. It is an invitation to rise above the noise of the world and step into a higher identity, one that defies expectations and breaks every mold. When you feel like you don't quite fit in, when your spirit wrestles with mediocrity and your soul aches for something deeper, it's not confusion, it's confirmation. It's a divine signal that you were never meant to blend in. You were chosen to stand out. Being called by God to be different means carrying a fire within you that the world doesn't understand. It means having a heart that longs for purpose more than popularity. It means having a mind that seeks truth over trends and a spirit that is led by faith, not fear. People may look at you and see ordinary, but heaven sees rare. Heaven sees someone marked, set apart, and divinely anointed for impact that cannot be measured by numbers, followers, or fame. From the beginning, God has used the unlikely, the overlooked, and the underestimated to carry out his greatest purposes. Moses had a stutter, David was a shepherd boy, Esther was an orphan, Jesus himself was born in a manger. And yet, through divine calling, they became rare vessels for glory. That same voice that called them is calling you not to conform, not to compete, but to become to become someone whose life echoes with eternal significance. But here's the hard truth, being different comes with a cost. You will be misunderstood, you will be criticized, you will walk alone at times, but the cost of fitting in is far greater, the cost of losing who you truly are. God didn't design you to walk the wide road, he designed you for the narrow path. That's where miracles live, that's where power flows, that's where rare souls are formed in fire. When you embrace your difference, you embrace your divine identity. You begin to understand that your values, your sensitivity, your dreams, your discernment, they're not weaknesses, they're spiritual tools, tools forged by heaven to lead, to heal, to awaken. When others chase pleasure, you pursue purpose. When others numb their pain, you face yours, knowing that God uses brokenness to build beauty. That's what makes you different. That's what makes you dangerous to darkness. This calling isn't about being better than anyone else. It's about being obedient to a higher voice. When you walk in your difference, you create a path for others to follow. Your courage gives others permission to be authentic. Your healing becomes a roadmap for someone else's breakthrough. That's the ripple effect of walking in purpose. It's not just about you. It's about every soul you were born to impact. But don't wait for the world to affirm what heaven has already spoken. Don't water yourself down to be digestible. Don't bury your light to make others comfortable. Be bold in your calling, be fierce in your faith, and be unapologetically different. Because in a world full of copies, rare is sacred, and sacred is powerful. God is calling you out of the ordinary. He is calling you out of compromise. He is calling you to rise, to speak, to lead, to create, to love deeper, to live bolder. He is calling you to be different, not for applause, but for impact. Not for ego, but for eternity. So embrace it, own it, walk in it. You were never meant to be like the rest. You were meant to be rare, and when you answer that call, heaven moves through you, not just to change your life, but to change the world.